Animal shelters across the country are overcrowded. So how are the shelters in our community holding up, and what can we do to help? That's next on WNIN Newsmakers. Today we'll be meeting with a few of the animal shelters in our local area to see how this overcrowding has affected their organization and what we can do to help. Joining me now is Lori Miller, Development and Public Relations Coordinator for the Vanderburgh Humane Society. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Well, and actually we have to introduce Odie as well. We can't have Vanderburgh Humane Society come in without bringing a little animal. So first of all, tell us a little bit about Odie, and then we'll talk about the VHS.
Thing. So this is little Odie, and he is my foster right now. I've only had him for a few days. He came in on Friday evening, and he's trying to wiggle out of his little sock sweater right now. But we didn't know if he was going to make it or not just 3 days ago. We had come in with a neurological condition, and yeah, he wasn't walking or eating on his own. And then just 48 hours later, he took his first steps, and I think Odie's going to be okay. So.
And he's doing amazing. He's just precious. So, you know, you mentioned you're fostering him. Mm-hmm. We'll talk a little bit about the VHS overall and who you serve and those types of things, but let's go ahead and get right into things like this. This is one of the problems with our overcrowding.
Sure.
Are the dumping of animals, you know, people who aren't getting their pets spayed or neutered, those types of things.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what the VHS does and some of the issues that you're seeing currently.
Sure. So we are all about controlling the pet population. There are so many homeless pets waiting for homes in our shelter. Right now, there are easily 400 to 500 dogs and cats altogether. So this little guy, you know, if I had to guess, he was probably bought online, a full-blooded Chihuahua. He's very cute. Why wouldn't you want that? I get it. But we also have 60 amazing dogs waiting for homes. But that's just one part of what we do. We also have our low-cost spay-neuter clinic to avoid unwanted litters and just to help bring those numbers down and try to get a handle on it.
Oh, most definitely. Well, it's the Vanderburgh Humane Society. So, but do you just stay within the Vanderburgh County area, or do you serve a larger geographic area?
We serve the entire tri-state, and we also partner with other organizations. So it's not uncommon for Warwick County organizations to come in and on our low-cost spay-neuter days or on our TNR days where we trap, neuter, and release cats. Mm-hmm. They'll bring in from their community, from their county, and obviously we work a lot with Evansville Animal Care and Control as well to help with, their situation. Sorry, he's getting wiggly down here.
He has been a little wiggly today, but he's just a little guy. And so we always talk about the dogs and cats, but let's also talk about some of the other animals you see, because it's not necessarily just dogs and cats. We find this especially around the Easter holidays coming up. People are really tempted to purchase other types of animals, chicks and bunnies and things like that. So tell us a little bit about what you see seasonally and also what other animals you help take care of and find homes for.
Absolutely. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because Easter is around the corner, and we do find that it's so easy to go, to Rural King or your local farm store, and it's, so how cute, baby chicks, baby bunnies. I get it. It's so irresistible. But then the novelty starts to wear off. They realize it's a little bit more work than they had anticipated, because they are living little mammals, so they need all the care that your dogs and cats need as well. So we do see a little bit of that around Easter. So we encourage people always adopt. We have numerous small animals, as we mentioned. We have rabbits. We currently have a chinchilla. We have a handful of guinea pigs. Sometimes we have rats. We have a little mouse. So no animal is turned away. We take them big and small.
Wonderful. Well, the other challenge we kind of think about is many times people think this is really a novelty to purchase as a gift without actually chatting with the recipient. And that recipient might be your child. And as a parent, we always say, well, this is going to be your dog to take care of or whatever. And then we find this situation where animals need to be rehomed. So Talk us through a little bit about that whenever someone is tempted to give an animal as a gift, all the different considerations they need to go through, and some of the trauma that can happen with an animal whenever you find that you're having to rehome an animal because of something like that.
Absolutely. While I do agree that it is a great learning experience for kids and adults to own a pet, you need to make sure that it's the right time, not just for your family, but also for the pet. You want to, it's a long commitment. It can be anywhere from 8 to 15 years, depending on the breed. And if your kids are busy with sports or summer camps, that happens. And this pet still needs the same care, same quality of care. I personally have a dog at home that has been adopted and returned at least 5 times for his 6th home. And he's got a little bit of trauma from it. Dogs are kind of like kids. They need routine and consistency, and moving them in and out it doesn't really do them any service. So we are all about finding the right home the first time. So if you're considering a gift, make sure that other person is on board with it, even if it's your kiddos, and involve the whole family in the adoption process, because it's just like adding another family member, and it's not to be taken lightly.
Oh, most definitely. So we are talking about this overcrowding problem really around the country, and we see it a lot locally as well. What do you feel like are the factors that are contributing to that, and what can we as viewers and people in our community do to help?
Well, I know it mentioned spaying and neutering saves so many lives. So first off, adopt, don't shop. That's simple. I know we've heard that expression before. And also just getting your pets fixed. Every unwanted litter that comes in, that's, could be up to 5, 8 more puppies, that are brought into the system that are going to be full-grown dogs one day. So really just choosing to adopt and getting your pet spayed and neutered is the best way to combat this over-pet population.
But let's talk a little bit also about what owners can do to be responsible in terms of, sometimes we see a proliferation of lost pets. So we see that pets have either gotten out, they've gotten through an electric fence, maybe a dog, something like that. We see a lot of that kind of circulating around on Facebook. So what are some of the best things that a pet owner can do to really prevent the loss of their pet, and then be able to find that reunification if their pet does get out or they do find that they've...
We do see that. There are some frequent flyers out here in Vanderburgh counties that Animal Control and VHS is familiar with. But the first step is microchipping your pet, which actually we have a clinic coming up, a free microchip clinic for Vanderburgh County residents. That's the first step in reuniting if they get lost. Collars and tags are nice, but sometimes they lose that, especially if they slipped out a fence. So securing your fence and making sure they're not left unattended all the time outside, because they're pack animals. They want to be inside with you. So, just keeping an eye on them.
Wonderful. Well, I know that you've got a fabulous staff at the VHS. We're very blessed to also have veterinary staff available at the Humane Society. So what types of veterinary options do you offer? I know sometimes there's free vaccination clinics and spay and neuter clinics and those types of things. So what are those things that you offer? And if someone's feeling like they need to give up their pet because of medical conditions or challenges there, what do you have in terms of suggesting for that?
Sure. So we offer a low-cost clinic, both spay and neuter, and as well as vaccines. Our vaccine clinic is twice a month on Saturdays, and we serve a lot of people in the community every time we have one of those clinics. It goes from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays.
Great.
You can look on our website for that schedule. We actually just did our 100,000th spay surgery, spay neuter.
Yeah.
That was late last year since the clinic opened, which that's amazing, the impact that has had on the community. So you can schedule to have your pet fixed. Just go on our website, vhslifesaver.org. And so as far as surrendering for medical conditions, this little guy, the owner really didn't know what to do. He had suffered trauma on his head. So we are not a full service clinic, but we certainly, if there's a case like this that comes in and we think that he's a fighter and has a chance, we will put him into foster care and we'll monitor his condition. Sometimes we'll do some crowdfunding. Maybe you've seen on social media, we've raised money for a cat that was hit by a car or a dog that was also, had to have his leg amputated. So we get all sorts of medical conditions in that our vet clinic is able to handle. and we're very thankful for them.
Most definitely. Well, with this overcrowding, I know you mentioned you work with other shelters and things like that. I think a lot of people are very concerned what happens whenever the VHS is full and you can't take any other animals. What are like the next steps then whenever you see that happen?
Sure. So you've maybe seen us, our cry for help on social media, and just a few weeks ago we were at capacity, and there were people waiting to surrender pets. There were dogs in foster care waiting to come back, and there was zero space in the shelter. So we have, for the entire month of March, had an adoption special where you can name your own fee. So if you had been considering adopting, here's a little incentive. Come now. Donations are definitely appreciated, but that has helped make room for more. Also, staff, we do everything in our power to, if we don't have room, we'll make room by adopting, taking them home, whatever we need to do. But most of the time, it's through fostering. Sure. And sometimes we'll stick some in our offices as well, so to help make room.
Well, and on a grander scale, I think I've seen in the past, and correct me if I'm wrong, if there's a real overcrowding problem, sometimes are there transfers between shelters. I know, like after Katrina and some of the disasters, if we've got space, we might take some. And if we're overcrowded, do you ever transfer animals to other shelters so that they might have a chance?
Absolutely, yes. We partner with a cat shelter up in Chicago that we just did a transport last month. Great. And we certainly do. If you remember those horrible tornadoes that went through Kentucky not too long ago, we took in dogs from that situation as well. So we do partner with different states and different shelters to network and make room for more, because every dog and cat that we move out is another life that we can save.
Yes, most definitely. Well, we talked some about, the responsibility of pet ownership, and we don't want to see animals be rehomed. But really, if there's anyone out there that's considering adoption, let's talk a little bit about the benefits of having Odie and Odie or some of our furry friends in our home. It really, if you're thinking about it and have the capacity, it really can be life-changing. Yeah.
I always say, if you have room in your home and your heart, why not? They can add so much to your life. Studies have shown the benefits of owning a pet on our mental health. Combats loneliness. It gets us active. It gets us outside. And it just makes us smile. So, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well, and it's been exciting to watch River City Kitty become so very successful. So that's really a great adoption opportunity as well, right? To come in and play with the animals and support River City Kitty.
It's out here on Main Street. It's downtown. It's a really laid-back atmosphere, and it's really helped the shelter as well. We bought River Kitty in 2018. And since then, we've done over 1,000 adoptions.
Great.
So that helps make room for the shelter whenever we're at capacity. River Kitty has about 20 cats at a time that you can come in the lounge and just hang out with them. There's nice music playing. It's very, very peaceful, and it's a great way to connect with a possible new pet.
Yeah, it's wonderful over there. I really love it. So lastly, what do you need in terms of, could you use, I know you need adopters and fosters. How about volunteers, and what are your hours if people are interested in getting contacted?
Yeah, so the shelter is open Tuesday through Saturday, noon to 6 are our adoption hours. We're there by 9, but we could always use just more people, like you said, adopters. And if you can't adopt, foster. If you can't foster, just sharing our message and getting the word out there. We're gearing up for our big auction that we have every year, Gone to the Dogs.
Okay.
So we are needing items for that. It's a silent auction. Always your time as well. So donations are great, but also your time and just volunteering with us. There's so many opportunities, whether you're a dog person, cat person, small animal person, you like rabbits over dogs, that's great. We have some work for you to do.
So let's talk just one quick thing about the auction, one of your biggest fundraisers.
Yes.
Tickets available, and when will the auction be?
So that is in April, and you can go online. Tickets are on sale right now. So more info on that can be found at vhslifesaver.org. Whether you want to buy a ticket or you want to sponsor or donate an item, all of those options are available.
And if somebody's got their eye on little Odie here, he'll be up for adoption sometime soon, hopefully?
Yeah, we'll need to get him neutered. He's such a little guy, so we'll let him, here's his little sock sweater. It's a little big on him. But I mean, this is amazing to see him wagging his tail and walking whenever just 3 days ago he couldn't do any of those things. So that's just part of the work that we do. So it's not always cute, tiny puppies, but it's always an animal in need nonetheless.
Yeah, and it's always heartwarming. So thank you so very much, Lori. We appreciate
Thanks
your time.
for having
and best
us.
of luck to little Odie here.
Yeah.
I hope he finds his forever home.
I think he will.
Joining us now is Lindsay Hagedorn, Executive Director of the Warwick Humane Society. Thank you for joining us.
Sure.
So we are talking about the problem of overcrowding within the shelters. We just met Odie and some of the wonderful things that are happening, whenever pets are involved. But let's talk about some of the more serious issues whenever it comes to overcrowding. What do you feel like is really contributing to this problem?
Recently we've heard a lot of different things, not being able to afford to take care of their pet, having to move, which could be for financial reasons. But monetary seems to be the big issue.
Really? Okay. Well, we talk some about, spaying and neutering and things like that as well. Have you seen that trend, since it's really been a drumbeat for quite some time, that people are better about spaying and neutering their pets, especially if they're outdoor pets?
Somewhat. I think people are either on board or they're not. Ever since I was a kid, it was ingrained into my head to spay and neuter your pets. But there's still a lot of people out there that just don't understand the importance. So it's definitely our job to educate people, because like Lori said, they've done over 100,000 spay-neuter surgeries. I can't imagine what the issue would be if they hadn't have done all those surgeries. So,
is there another way? I know that so many pets are indoors, and so there's a control issue there that, your pet is not out and roaming around and maybe getting in those situations. But are there other ways to, if someone feels like that's not financially feasible or anything, to spay and neuter a pet? Do you have other suggestions on how they can help control the pet population if that's not an option for them?
I guess just keeping their pet indoors, and if they do take them out, take them out on a leash, because anything can happen, and it happens very quickly. So you want to just make sure to hang on to your pet, and keep them inside if you can't afford to spay and neuter. But there are low-cost options through VHS and some other programs. So it's just super important to get that taken care of.
Well, and people are very attached to their pets, so it can be very tragic if an economic situation is forcing someone to have to surrender their pet, either, like you said, either moving or can't afford it anymore. Do you have any suggestions for people who might find themselves in that situation in terms of some alternatives or things that they can do to possibly be able to retain their pet rather than having to surrender them?
Yeah, we always try and look for ways for them to retain it, whether it is financial, behavioral, or just really anything, because it is important that the pet stays with their owner. So, if it's financial, we have different resources to provide low-cost vetting. If it's, just the basics, food and litter for cats, there are food banks for dogs, dogs and cats. So I think those resources are on our website, so that that's helpful to people, and they don't know that that's even out there. Sure. So just educating people on different ways they can help keep their pet is the way that we typically like to go.
Yeah, I think whenever people feel like they need to surrender their pet to VHS or Warwick or somewhere, they're kind of at that last resort, and they feel like that contact only needs to be made whenever they're having to surrender. But maybe if they're finding themselves having to consider that, should they be in contact with you first before it gets so bad that they feel like there's no point of no return on something like that?
Well, right now, yes, because it has just been so overcrowded lately. If you contact us today, unless we actually have space for cats, but dogs, we have a wait list. We cannot take in a dog immediately. So contacting us so we could at least give you some advice to hold on to the pet for a little bit longer while we try and make space. And we've actually found that a lot of people, after having to hold on to their pet for a little longer, find a way to make it work. So that has actually been a positive thing of being so full, is people are kind of forced to figure out what works for them and how to keep their pets. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So if you don't have any space, you do create, that was going to be one of my next questions. What do you do whenever you run out of space? Do you create a waiting list? Do you start to do fosters, or how do you handle that situation whenever there's no space left?
We just have a waiting list. We also refer them to other shelters, other rescues, but we always tell people more than likely they're full as well. It's a really hard time right now for everybody. So hanging on to your pet is the most important thing. So, yeah.
Gosh. Well, when we talk about this, is a pretty massive problem, and we're not unique in our community in terms of this overcrowding and overpopulation. What are some of the suggestions? I know that some people who already own pets, we're kind of at a loss as to how we can help. What are some of the strategies and things do you feel like people who are watching can do to help this alleviate the problem?
I guess if you know anybody in need of getting rid of their pet, try and help them yourself. Try to provide their resources that they may need, whatever assistance you can help them with. People can always donate or foster, or promoting adopting instead of shopping is always a big one too, because there are still a lot of people out there that purchase animals instead of rescuing, and that does not help us with our issue of the overcrowded shelters. So just promoting that is a big help.
All right. Well, and whenever we talk a little bit about fostering, I know personally as an animal lover, I'm a little bit reluctant to foster because I feel like, I'm going to become so attached to this animal, and I don't know as I would be able to take care of them myself. So walk us through this fostering situation. How do you select fosters? What can people do? What's the average time that people foster? And then how do you help someone let go of the animal that they fostered that they might have become so attached to?
So typically we usually just have fosters for puppies, kittens, pregnant moms, or animals with special medical needs. Just because if the dog or cat is ready for adoption, it should be in the shelter so people can see it. Puppies, we usually have those fostered until they are ready for adoption. So sometimes we get them in, a week old, 5 weeks old, 6 weeks old, and so the foster will take them until we can get them spayed or neutered and ready for adoption. We do have a problem with people wanting to hang on to the pets, and sometimes that's perfect, but we like to tell people, if you let this one go, you can help even more by fostering the next one, because if you fill your home with your fosters, you're not going to be able to foster anymore. So we kind of just stress the importance. We need you as a foster too, so don't hang on to all the pets.
Sure. So if someone has pets already in their home and they are interested in becoming a foster, how do you help your current pets adjust to having a new animal in the household, and kind of having that transition of bringing a new animal, introducing a new animal into the mix, and then having that new animal only there for a temporary amount of time?
Well, since we do mostly puppies or kittens, usually adult dogs are either going to like them or they're not. So a lot of times we'll offer to do a meet and greet at the shelter to make sure that the animal's going to adjust, and then just kind of keeping them separately for a little bit, and slowly introducing them so that they, get used to having the new family member around. A lot of our fosters, though, they've been doing it for a long time. Yeah. They take them from us all the time, thankfully, and so their pets are seasoned at fostering.
Great. Yeah.
So it's good.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we talked about Vandenberg Humane Society kind of serving the tri-state, even though it says Vandenberg Humane Society. Warwick Humane Society, what is your geographic area that you serve, and what are some of the more unique challenges of being more of a rural county as opposed to the urban center of Vandenberg County?
I would say just people knowing that we're out there. I mean, we've had our shelter since '93, and so there's a lot of people that still don't even know that we're out there. We're about 1.5 miles behind Castle High School, so it's a fairly small shelter, but we usually have around 60 or so animals at a time, 60 or 70. So just everybody thinking, come outside the city and see what we have too.
Sure. And is it just Warwick County that you serve, or do you find that you're serving a greater radius than just the Warwick County area?
The Warwick is just in the name.
Okay.
We take pets from all over. We adopt to all over. Okay. So that is really just our name. It is not a Warwick-based organization at all, except for our location. So,
with it being in Newburgh and rural Warwick County, do you find that you have more drop-offs or surrenders? Do you find that there's any trend for your rural area as opposed to more of a city center? And do you find that you have unique challenges in terms of pets getting out, or maybe having more people that have outdoor pets that get lost? What are some of your unique challenges there?
Honestly, I don't really know how to answer that. Okay. Warwick County Animal Control deals with most of that because they take in all the strays and they take in all the calls for the lost pets or found pets. Of course, if we get those calls, we'll take them too, but we cannot take in strays just the way that our county operates.
Okay.
So of course, if we know somebody's missing their pet, we'll listen to see if anybody calls in with a description that matches, but those mostly are fielded through animal control.
Okay, and do you work closely with the animal control then once they do intake? Do they ever transfer over to make pets adoptable, or how's that relationship in Warwick County?
Oh yeah, they're definitely our #1 priority as far as shelters that we pull from, just because they are in our county. But they are a very small facility as well, so we are able to help outside the county with other shelters also, but we have a great working relationship. We are actually taking a dog from them today. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, hopefully they will be adopted soon. So if someone is interested in helping you, do you have events that they can support? And how can people support you in terms of monetary donations or volunteerism, and how can they get in touch with you?
We're always having events going on. Anything as small as a give back, like we have a give back at AZIP in Newburgh on April 18th.
Great.
So all you have to do is eat delicious pizza, say you're there for Warwick Humane Society, and we get 20% of that purchase back. We do have a silent auction coming up this summer. We have a new fun event. It's called Mutts at Myriad. It's going to be at Myriad in Newburgh, and those are all throughout the summer. The first one's going to be a cornhole tournament on May 21st. So that is, supporting us in that way. Of course, donations are always good. We have a supply list on our website, as well as a link to make monetary donations. And then there's also information about volunteering and other ways to help too.
Okay, well, Lindsay Hagedorn with Warwick Humane Society, we really appreciate all of your information. Hopefully we can empty that shelter.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks to all of our guests for discussing the overcrowding in our animal shelters. Next week, we'll be talking about the banking crisis and its impact locally. Thanks for watching WNIN Newsmakers.